Hello and welcome to Stupid O'Clock. I'm Dan Hollifield. We are Joe Dogless tonight because he is at the HallowCon Christmas party, and Chris is there as well. But we do have, and let me also mention, Lewis Lee is still on vacation, and we'll come back with all kinds of wonderful stories about traveling to far Yankee land and enjoying cold weather. But we do have John and Bill here right now, and we're going to bring them in, and everything is fine and dandy. We may actually have Josh show up with some news about the recent
Yeah, with all the
weather
tornadoes and everything, I imagine Josh has been quite busy today. So.
Now, one thing I just noticed when we were checking the chat room, I don't need to respond to anybody because it comes up as Joe's account. With 16 different people saying the same thing. So we'll just let that slide and y'all answer the...
Joe sent me a text. It says, no, I'm just kidding. He has not sent me a text. So.
Oh, well, I would not doubt for a minute that some moonshine was involved. If he has any left over from HallowCon, because we put a really big dent in what he made up to Halloween. So
Earl Scheib ain't covering up that dent. Let me tell you.
Oh, it was very good. It was very enjoyable. The Statesman bourbon that Chris brought in was really good too, and that's a whole nother step up. Let me tell you. As good as Joe's moonshine is, the Statesman bourbon had a totally different vibe to it, as well as the normal, as you would expect, taste and feel, and still get you staggering around. No,
Well, the only thing I got to say about Joe's absence is, who let the dog out? And you know he's going to be scratching at the door about 2 o'clock in the morning.
He popped into the green room 2 or 3 times last night, checking on everybody. I'm going, Joe, Donna's here. She'll wake me up if I doze off. Oh.
Michaela was there too.
Yes.
A lot later than she normally stays. So.
Well, we actually started out with it was Donna and Uncle Carl and Michaela and I talking literary matters and editing and things like that, and it was a lot of fun, and a lot of information was passed back and forth. So I learned quite a bit about how Michaela edits stuff and things like that, and we all learned different things about how the 4 of us write as well as edit. So that was fun, and then the party got started when everybody else started coming in. We tabled all the.
I'm trying to figure out which one of our shirts looks the most like my Bloody Mary.
Depends on how close you hold it to the light.
If I hold it up close to the camera, it looks like mine. But if I hold it way back here, wait a minute, let me see. I put it over. Wait, that's okay. Never mind.
You get it close to the light,
makes it look like his shirt.
Mm-hmm.
The grow light over here makes it look like mine. So.
That's because the grow light has more blue in it. Even though I've got blue filters on the lights I've got in the studio right now.
Yes, my high-tech lighting system is what's left over from growing violets and orchids. So, that's my high-tech lighting system.
I've just got 2. I've got a regular short lamp here, a pedestal lamp, and I've got a desk lamp, one of those with the arm that bends and twists and folds, and they both have blue cereal bowls on top of them, which makes a perfect filter.
Okay, let me tell you what I've got. I've got 4 40-watt LED bulbs up there in the ceiling fan, and they've got the little can lights that you can aim the can lights. One is pointed right here. The other 2 pointed off the side. And then the other one's pointed at the far wall. Then over here, I've got another 40-watt LED in a big silver reflector. And over here, I've got the grow light, which is also an LED grow light in a reflector. And I went and bought, just so y'all are wondering what the heck we're doing. This is a piece of Lincoln. No, it's not Lincoln. I'm sorry. I got a Kelly green.
Kelly green.
Let me do this real quick. This is a piece of Kelly green fleece, like a blanket, that I found at Walmart. Okay, so if everybody's wondering where the magic begins, it begins at Walmart. Okay.
Yes, that's where I got my green screen here.
That's where the strangeness begins. That's for sure.
And basically, I just bought like 2 sets of 4 yards of the stuff and made curtains out of them. I put curtain rods up and everything where I can just slide it back and,
My curtain rod is actually a 10-foot extendable paint stick for roller painting. And I pinned it up to the thing, hung it on my closet doors behind me. And it's like 3 yards this way and then 2 yards wide this way.
Yep. I went to the extreme of actually buying curtain rods and putting them. They were the ones that come out like 4 inches from the wall, and I put them on bookshelves behind me. And they are basically an L shape with a corner about where this ear is. If you went straight back from there, it would be a corner in the curtain. And that is the part that it's the hardest to get the wrinkles out of after I slide one bit back so I can get to the bookshelf and the coat hooks and stuff like that back there.
I get the distinct impression most of our viewers are at Joe's party.
I don't know. We've got as many viewers right now as we normally do right now. We got 5 people watching us. Stupid O'Clock YouTube. HallowCon's.
I'm one of the ones on Stupid O'Clock Facebook. I am the one on Stupid O'Clock Facebook.
Yeah, same here.
There are
Bill's
3
on Facebook.
There are 3 on Stupid O'Clock Facebook. There's one on the Twitch HallowCon, and
Carrie, maybe.
Nobody's watching on my channel. Oh well.
I didn't see anything on your channel. I went there first and I saw for the Last Man Standing reminder.
Hey Ace.
Thank you, Ace. Somebody took the hint. So.
Yeah, well, after I flooded the chat room with posts from all of Joe's destinations here, that it's nice to see there's somebody here besides.
Actually, it wouldn't have bothered me too much if everybody was at Joe's party, but it's nice to have Ace here. So
yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, the best thing we can do is try not to bore people to tears. So maybe I should shut up. But
I completely forgot about Joe's HallowCon party thing. So.
Well, as I was saying before, I could not justify driving 3 hours and watching everybody party and then driving another 3 hours to get home so that my wife can get to church on time in the morning. So, it's not like we could have gotten a hotel room and stayed overnight.
I could have had a V8.
I thought you were. All right, here you go.
I drove a V8.
Okay. Bill, let's go ahead and throw this one at you. Just because Ace asked and you were talking about it earlier. Throw that up there.
Oh yeah, that good lead in there, Ace. Thank you.
Yep.
Well, yes. Those of you who don't know, Mike Nesmith passed away, and natural causes. But
hey, he was a monkey.
Right. I would watch his live videos that he would do with, I guess his, I don't know what you would call her. She was kind of in charge of the promoting on everything from Mike Nesmith's Video Ranch. So when they would come out with something, and I will show you something that was given to me here in just a moment. But the last couple times that they would put out a video, usually about once a week, or well, it was a live show, and you can get in there like you can on Stupid O'Clock and make comments and ask questions. But Mike looked tired, and I will say Mike was smoking a lot. And he wasn't a cigarette man. So anyway, I'm thinking there might be some pain that was involved with some things. Yeah. And
he was smoking a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. He made no secret about it. He did it right on camera. And he would go and hand it to the girl that did the show with him, and she would hesitantly take a puff. So
okay, let me throw something up here real quick. I hate to interrupt, but
okay. Thank you, Jody. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I don't know. Now I'm going to have to argue this one for just a moment. We'll go back. We'll argue that in a moment. There, small press publisher.
Jody McPhee.
Oh,
I have friends all over, not in just high places like Cheech and Chong. They haven't been posting very much on my Facebook lately. I guess there's been too many suggested things rather than posts from friends, which I would actually like to see. So yeah, I thought, Bill, that I thought during all the publicity stuff that I'd seen for their Mike and Mickey's final tour, that he was really looking very, very thin, and he was walking around the same way I feel when my arthritis kicks up, but it was more all over. So yeah, maybe there were some medical reasons that we don't know anything about, but
I saw several live footages from some of the earlier concerts that Mike and Mickey did, probably about 4 or 5 months ago. And after a certain period of time, he was sitting on a stool a lot during the concert.
Well, how many monkeys are still alive? We've lost 2, yes?
One.
Mickey.
Oh, there's only 1 left?
We've lost 3. Yep.
We lost 3.
Yep. Davey was the first, quite a while back. Then Peter, not too long ago, but still a couple of years. And now,
you guys remember a song? It's a little nursery rhyme song about the monkeys in the bed.
Evidently, we had vastly different nursery rhymes.
Yeah.
4 little monkeys lying in the bed. 1 little monkey rolled over and said, "I'm crowded, roll over." So they all rolled over and 1 fell out.
That was more of a summer camp song for us than a nursery rhyme.
1 little monkey lying in a bed.
And I have not seen the video of Mickey talking about Mike's passing yet, but I have read a little bit of people that had seen it, and it when I do see it, it will be a very emotional thing.
Have you ever seen the special about the monkeys where they talk about how the monkeys got formed? And
several.
Was it Kirshner that formed them?
Don Kirshner's rock concert? Yes, I do believe that's correct.
Yep.
And he basically he went out, he controlled everything. He controlled them, he controlled the music, he controlled what got put out, the TV show, the whole thing. It was all Don Kirshner. And when they wanted to go out on their own and do their own music and stuff like that, Don said no. Says, we have a formula. We're sticking to it. It's making money. They said, well, we're going to go out and do our own thing. And of course, Don said, well, if you do that, it's over. We'll find somebody else. I created the monkeys. I pushed the monkeys. I can find somebody else to replace the monkeys.
I have to call bullshit on that one.
The monkeys actually fired Don Kirshner.
And that's
they Nesmith and Kirshner got into it regularly because of original compositions. And Kirshner said, hey, I got the best people here. I got Neil Diamond. I got Goffin and King, and I got Tommy Boyce and Bobby Hart, and they were the hit makers, and that part was true. But Michael Nesmith and Peter Tork were very talented. Davey, of course, was in TV and theater since he was very small, and I'm not talking about his height either.
No, he was quite a young thing when he got started.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And of course, Mickey, besides after going through Circus Boy on TV, he was in a band. He had a band. He did not play drums. He played guitar.
Yeah. He have to learn how to play drums just for the monkeys.
Yep.
Which shows you the level of talent that he possessed, because it's not easy to learn how to play drums.
And do you know why he ended up playing drums? Well, because Mike and Peter were both very accomplished guitar players, and then they wanted Davey up front for the girls.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing left to do was play the drums. And Dolan's readily admitted to it. That was just it. That's, you're the last one being picked for the team or whatever. But
wasn't he also a fairly accomplished keyboard player?
Oh, Mickey?
Yeah.
I know Peter Tork was.
Yeah.
And that shows in many songs. Daydream Believer is the first one that comes to mind.
Well, maybe my memory is being a little bit faulty, but then again, I am.
But back to Kirshner and Nesmith, they got into it big time. And in this one Monkeys, it was a made-for-TV movie about the monkeys, and it had other people playing the monkeys, but it was very well done.
Believer documentary,
right?
Yeah,
right.
The one that Jody
came out in 2000. It came out in 2000. Yeah.
Right, and which, by the way, last night I put the movie Head on the artwork of Bill Sarton, and so you can watch it in its entirety, uncut, unedited, and you can trip out to that and remember Mike and some really good scenes and some really good compositions that Mike had, particularly Circle Sky was debuted on that in that movie. But no, Nesmith and Kirshner were really battling back and forth. And in Daydream Believer, where it shows Nesmith punching his fist into the wall and practically breaking his hand and telling Kirshner, said, that could be your head. Something to that effect actually happened in real life. They kind of took a little bit of poetic justice for Daydream Believer, but on one of the videos, live video shows that Mike did for Video Ranch, somebody had asked that in the comments. And so she got Mike to respond to it, and he says it happened.
Mm.
And he said it almost happened to Kirshner's face.
That would have changed the course of music history for a little while.
Yeah, I mean,
he would have had Kirshner would have been talking out of the other side of his mouth for a little while longer.
And they were both great, and they were. I mean, I have up on my wall over there behind me, and which if I knew how to turn this thing around, I would show you. But I got Monkey's Headquarters, and Monkey's Headquarters is the first album that they did all by themselves, and it's still remains my favorite Monkeys album to this day. But I have something really quick I'll show you that I'm glad that I got. Jessica sent this to me, and
yeah, we can't see that.
I can see it. It's got
can
glare.
You? I don't know.
It's got glare on it.
Well, here, let me.
No, it's still the.
You have to turn your screen off before we see it.
No. Because it's got glass on it, naturally it has glare on it. The only way to photograph anything inside a frame like that is to take the glass out, put the frame back together, but that's a little bit too much effort.
Yeah.
Those are
so really basically this is
cowboy.
That's Michael Nesmith in his official nudie suit, including the hat. And this is Michael Nesmith. Oh, wait a minute. I have to read it. Michael Nesmith's Different Drum. It's the Lost RCA Victor recordings. It came out earlier this year. It's all his individual. I'm sorry, I have this in a. Maybe I can take it out.
No, don't do that.
But I got it in a shadow box.
Yes,
and
I can tell.
Anyway, it's signed to me. Michael signed it to me, so my name's on there too. And it's in silver. There, yeah. I think you can see my last name, and then you can see Michael Nesmith.
Yep.
And that, and then so, I don't know if you can see it. Behind there's a picture of Peter.
Yep.
And it's the Mikenismobile.
Uh-huh.
And at the very top in dark, right above where it says Hollywood, that's Peter Tork's signature. He signed that. Lord,
whatever happened to the Mikenismobile?
That was a George Barris creation, and I don't know if it was rented or what, but eventually I think it went to the George Barris estate, but I could be wrong about that.
Well, there's more than one, and one like the Batmobiles, Barris's Batmobile. There
were 5 of those.
5 of those, and of course there are a lot of people that are making recreations.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, there's one that I see. He has a Facebook page. He does an immaculate job on recreating the Batmobile. But one of the Mikenismobiles is at the Volvo Auto Museum. It's up in the western suburbs of Chicago. And they do have one of the Batmobiles up there. They have the Munsters coach. They got the Dragula.
Mm-hmm.
They got Sonny and Cher's twin Mustang convertibles.
You know, for some reason, I kept thinking they were Camaros, but you're right. They were Mustangs.
Yeah, they were, Mustang convertibles. And, they have one of the General Lees up there. They have one of the Kit cars from Knight Rider.
Mm-hmm.
This place is huge. I've never been there, but I've seen a virtual tour of it. And besides all the celebrity vehicles, they got a lot of really cool vintage hot rods and motorcycles, a lot of Army related things from WW2 on up, and just they change things out all the time, and it's well worth the trip.
Well, yeah, if you're running a museum, you've got to move the exhibits around every once in a while and bring stuff out of the storage area and put other stuff that people have seen a lot back into storage temporarily. You've got to keep your museum.
Video. Jeff Foxworthy is a big car collector. Him and Jay Leno are both big car collectors, and they're like buddies when it comes to, because they collect a lot of the same things and have. They both had amphibious cars and were having races with the amphibious cars to see whose amphibious car was faster in the water.
Oh,
yeah, that's kind of funny. But
I rode in an amphibious car.
Jeff Foxworthy, not Jeff Foxworthy. Jeff Dunham. I'm sorry.
Oh,
it's Jeff Dunham and Jay Leno.
Oh, okay.
Jeff Dunham, of course, is the ventriloquist double. He also makes his own helicopters.
He builds his own helicopter.
He builds helicopters from kits and then sells the helicopter.
Does he autograph them?
Well, he wrecked one. Does that count?
I don't think that's quite the collector value of a signature, but yeah.
But anyway, Jeff Dunham had a Batmobile. He had one of the original Batmobiles and wound up. There's actually a video out there. You can go look it up on YouTube where him and his buddy are driving it to the museum because he's loaning it to a museum for a big exhibit on something. I can't remember what, but they wanted his bat. They asked if they could use his Batmobile. Sure. So he loaned it to the museum for a year. And it's kind of funny. It shows him driving through Los Angeles in the Batmobile trying to find the museum.
Have you ever?
Batmobile did not come with a GPS.
Have you ever sat in one of the 66 Batmobiles?
I have not.
They
had one. They had one at one of the HallowCon's. And we kind of had to pull guard duty on it when the guy wasn't actually. We weren't allowed. No one was allowed to do anything to the Batmobile when the guy wasn't watching it. So
that's
well. We had one, and the one you mentioned in Gatlinburg. I've seen that one before, but we had one that came to Danville, Illinois. It was CarQuest Auto Parts were having some big to do, and they had a car show, and the main feature was one of Barris's Batmobiles is coming. Now, the engine in there was not a real engine. You couldn't drive it. It almost looked like it was made of wax or something. It was really, or some sort of plastic or something. It was very strange, but they hauled it in on a trailer and wheeled it down and actually got the set in the Batmobile. They were charging people $5 each to get your picture taken sitting in the Batmobile behind the steering wheel. And so I go up there, and the girl that's taking the pictures and that, I handed her my camera and I said, "Hey, would you take a picture of me in the Batmobile with my camera?" And she said, "Sure." Took the picture of me in that. I never got charged $5.
Because it was your camera.
It was my camera, but you would think, well, that lost out. But here's the thing. Okay, I'm no small person. Now, I've lost a bunch of weight in the last almost 12 months, but I'm 6'2". And anyway, my knees were up in the steering wheel. The seats in the Batmobile are the closest things I can call to them are Mustang seats. And they sit flat on the floor. And your feet are almost straight out like this to hit the accelerator pedal and the brake and that. And it was crazy. And I'm thinking, how tall was Adam West while he was doing this TV show?
I think he was either 5'11" or even 6 feet. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so average.
You had a little bit of an advantage there, but and I don't want Ace to think that we're ignoring him. It's just kind of an off-topic question.
Sure.
Yeah, we do know Eddie Van Halen played a lot of instruments, and I didn't know that he was a drummer before he picked up the guitar, but I knew he was proficient in a lot of things. But didn't want you to feel ignored there, Ace.
Yep.
It's just we were.
You know how we jump around on subjects.
Topic drift, yes, indeed. I'm familiar
And
with that.
according to IMDb, Adam West was in fact 6'2".
6'2". Wow.
Oh,
okay.
same height as me. Well, I don't know how he did it because I know there were some scenes he was actually driving and not a stunt double.
Bat grease.
Yeah. And I asked him when I sat down in there, I'm like, what is with this? And I said, this can't be right. And they, oh yeah, it is. But now I started to get in a 1989 Batmobile. It was in 1990. We went up to Six Flags Great America, north of Chicago, and they had introduced Batman the Ride,
Yeah.
which was the scariest dang thing ever. I tell you, something easy to lose your lunch on. And they had on display right out in front of the entrance where you would go up to get your tickets to go on Batman the Ride, the 1989 Michael Keaton Batmobile. And they had the red velvet ropes around it. So I'm taking pictures of it, and there's crowds everywhere, but they're all facing one direction. So we go around to the back side of it, and I told my friend, here's my camera, kind of like hold my beer and watch this, hold my camera and watch this, and I want you to get this picture, but you're going to have to do it awful quick. And they had the carriage rolled back. And so I duck underneath the red velvet ropes and I go up there. I get 1 foot in and the guy turns around and he's got me cold. And all I could do is throw my hands up and say, I'm sorry. I'm just a big Batman fan. And, and he's like, get out. Get out. If I see you inside that ropes again, you're going to get kicked out of the park. My friend did snap the picture before I got out. But yeah, I thought that was it. I thought I was going to jail. But it's one of those one-time, chance in a lifetime opportunities, and it would have been worth the trip to jail. That's all I could say. I didn't get both feet in, but I got 1 foot in. So that was good enough for me.
You know what you need to get, Bill? A slingshot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that's one of those.
That's one of those
three-wheel cars.
Three-wheel things.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the big wheel in the back, so like that. So it's like half motorcycle, half car. But yes, they do look like something Batman would be driving around in. So get you that Batman outfit and just tool around.
So, speaking of Batman and speaking of the Batmobile, have you both seen the new Batmobile from the Batman
one that looks like a
movie
Dodge
coming
Charger?
out?
The one that looks like a Dodge Charger?
Yeah, it looks like a 70s muscle car. And some people are really poo-pooing it because they want the Batmobile to look unearthly,
Mhm.
something that an alien made. But there are other people who are true to the comic and said, there was a time in the 70s when Batman drove a vehicle that looked like any other vehicle because
If
it
I
would be
remember
more
correctly,
James
the
it would be
first
more James
Batmobile was
Bond
actually a
like.
Cadillac. So that's, if I remember
Um,
correctly.
Actually, Bill, I do remember the comics you're talking about. He had pretty much moved out of Wayne Manor and was living in the business tower, and had
Yeah,
relocated a version of the Batcave to underneath the business tower, and
yeah,
the
the
that
Wayne
that
Foundation.
that indistinguishable Batmobile was it had diplomatic plates, so it wouldn't get pulled over no matter what he did driving in it,
Mhm.
and things like that. I do remember that comic series. I don't
I
believe
have
that I
a
collected very many of them, but I remember it.
I have a corgi uh, little car of that very car. They put out a whole line of Batmobiles back in the late 1990s, early 2000s, and that was one of them. And the only distinguishing feature on it that you could relate to another Batmobile down the hood, it kind of had the you know shape of the cow and that, and then the headlights were where
I
the
will,
eyes would be.
I will post this later on Stupid O'Clock because I just found it here. But I found a poster that shows all the Batmobiles all the way
Oh,
back to 1939.
oh, back to the cereal. Yes.
Yes.
Mm,
And the first Batmobile was a simple red convertible, wasn't even black.
mm.
And then 41, they basically, if I'm not mistaken, it's a Cadillac with big fin on the back, and it's Jerry Robinson's Batmobile from 41.
And that is actually currently available as a Hot Wheels, Dan Hollifield, since you like the Hot Wheels.
I do.
I saw it at Walmart today,
Really.
and yeah, they're on a card, and they're redoing a lot of the Batmobiles, and the Jerry Robinson is one of them.
Well,
Really?
to answer.
That's kind of cool here. Okay. For those of you in the studio audience who want to follow along at home, I just posted that to Stupid O'Clock. I posted it to the Stupid O'Clock group. I'm posting it to the page now.
Can you? Do you have a photo of it that you can flash on screen?
I could, but you'd see a bunch of black dots and one.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, it just would not show up very well. But you see,
And
you got
to
54
answer,
bubble. You got a 54 bubble dome Batmobile, a 58 final 50s bubble dome design. Who designed these things? It looks like somebody was designing a Greek god or something. See the 64 redesign, and then you have the 66 classic Batmobile that Adam West drove.
yeah, the Ford
Yep.
Futura. Yeah.
You have a 68 Batmobile. They went back to having fins, the huge fin panels. Then you have the 1970 Neil Adams, which looks suspiciously like a Corvette Stingray. And then the Super Friends Batmobile, which kind of is a cross between the 66 68.
Yeah.
And then you have a 1986 Dark Knight Returns Batmobile with tank treads on it. I've never seen this one before.
Oh, you'd have to read the comic. That thing is supposed to be as big as the land crawler from Star Wars, the Jawas little mobile home.
Yeah.
And then you got there's one that looks like a Lamborghini Countach. And then you got the 89 Batmobile that Michael Keaton drove around in. And then you've got the 92 animated series Batman that looks suspiciously Art Deco. Then you got the Batman Forever, which has, again, they went back to the ridiculous fins. 97's Batman and Robin, again with ridiculous fins. The New Adventures of Batman and Robin, which looks like Speed Racer's car, just with fins. And then Batman Beyond, it looks like some sort of hovercraft from Star Wars. The Dark Knight
I will
Strikes
be
Again,
right back.
which is again they went back to an Art Deco design.
Yeah.
License to Drive from Teen Titans, and it looks suspiciously like a Maserati. Yeah. And then 2004, the Batman. That one looks like what's that high speed car that's out now? Not Maserati, but anyway, it looks like a modern sports car. Then you got the Tumbler from the Dark Knight trilogy, which I love that one.
Yep.
I love the story behind it too. And then let me see how many Tumblr. Oh, they got Batman for Superman, Dawn of Justice. They went back with kind of a Tumblr design. So that's anyway. I posted all that to the Stupid O'Clock pages if anybody wants to see them. So.
I've got to admit, I have a fondness for the Keaton version from his first movie. That was really nice. And Jody McPhee. Yes, Bill might make you regret not getting the replica Mach 5, but I have one as a Matchbox car up on the wall. Unfortunately, it's been hanging on the wall for about 15 years now, and it's a little bit dusty, so I'd have to clean it off before I could show it on camera and anybody could see inside the plastic. But it's still sealed.
We should quit mentioning dusting. I've got my whole room is kind of. Ever since we turned on the heater, my room is just horrible.
Yeah, well, that's what I get for living out in farm country. It doesn't matter whether we're sweeping the rug or if we just open the door and somebody's been plowing a field. The dust comes in.
I don't know.
Lindsay was complaining today about, oh my God, the house looks horrible. I haven't done anything but all this church stuff for 2 weeks now. I'm going, honey, chill. It's okay.
I have got to clean the walls and paint downstairs. We're just going to paint.
Please don't say that where my wife can hear, because she's been wanting to repaint the inside of the house for about 1.5 years now, and I've
the only
never
problem
gotten
with that
around to
is
it.
We have 4 dogs. It's hard to paint when you have 4 dogs in winter.
Depends on whether or not you're willing to use them as a brush.
They'd probably eat the paint. But don't laugh. My mom was painting the dining room, and she left the paint in the dining room. The pig got in there and knocked over a 5-gallon bucket of paint.
Oh, Lord. How long did it take to clean the floor?
On a hardwood floor.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, she'd put down plastic drop cloth, but getting the paint off the pig was hilarious. Okay, I just say that, Ralph.
Hey, that'll wear off. Why did you have to scrub the pig? Just let it exercise. It'll flake off eventually.
Yeah.
I could just see you with the dust poster. Vacuuming dried paint off the pig.
Anyway, I've got the hardest part of painting is prepping to paint. I mean, I hate that bit. Okay, and I'm going to throw this up here while Bill's gone real quick. Okay, I don't know if Cheech wore it better or not. Okay, I'm just going to say that for those of you who don't. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, somebody made a meme about Cheech Marin from one of the Cheech and Chong movies, and Misty from Pokemon, which basically they were dressed alike. Okay. And of course, they put the title up top that who wore it better. And Small Dose Publisher said Cheech wore it better. She wore it all the time. Cheech only wore it like once. So I'm going to argue with you on that one. So it's one of those cartoon things. They never change clothes, which just.
It's because everything happens in one day. 16 seasons. They never change clothes.
Strangely enough, there's a few rules in cartoons that only a few cartoons break them. Okay. One, changing clothes. Okay. The Scooby Gang wore the same clothes for 45 years. Okay. They're still wearing the same damn clothes. Okay. As told by Ginger, which was a Nickelodeon cartoon, they actually changed clothes every episode, which was unusual for cartoons. Another thing is, most cartoons, the characters will only have 3 fingers.
Yeah.
To make them look more childlike. Okay. Now, there are several cartoons, if you pay attention, the children will have 3 fingers, the adults will have 4. There we go. There we go. Yeah.
Recognition from the big leagues.
Okay. There was this song that Cheech and Chong did in one of their movies, okay, where they were doing a Battle of the Bands thing. And I'm only going to sing like the first lines of it was, "My mama talking to me, trying to tell me how to live. But I don't listen to it because my head is like a sieve." Okay. Yeah. That's the song. Okay. He was wearing that tutu, the ballerina's tutu with that had the wild hair, and the glasses and everything like that while he was doing it, being all crazy and stuff like that. And they had Tommy Chong was on drums, and he couldn't play the drums because he was just too wasted. And then somebody piped a bunch of marijuana into the stadium where they were doing the Battle of the Bands. And when he smelled the marijuana, he woke up and started beating the hell out of the drums. Yeah.
Yes.
Misty couldn't have worn that. Okay. That's just not Misty style. She's like from a gym trainer family. She didn't do that sort of stuff. So.
And that was one of the few Cheech and Chong numbers that actually made it to AM radio. Yep, they managed to play the song all the way through without getting the radio station shut down. So
I'm trying to remember the name of the movie. I don't think it was Nice Dreams. It was Up in Smoke, I believe it was.
Up in Smoke. The routine was called Earache My Eye. It was about a kid that did not want to go to school and complained that they had an earache, and Daddy says, "Earache my eye," and on and on. You go to school, and then the song started. So, yeah, wearing high-heeled sneakers and acting like a queen. Yes, I do remember the 70s. Perhaps I did not enjoy them as much as other people did, but yeah, I even remember the 60s, but I was really young then. What on earth, John? You had to listen to it, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to bring it up on video. I just had to try and remember it a little bit. My memory. Okay.
Bill, you're muted. It's still got the X through it. You're still muted. There you go.
Okay, it was on there. I thought.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say.
I'm sorry. When Bill took off, I could hear him in the background talking.
Oh, so you okay?
Him. I apologize.
Oh, okay. All
right.
Well,
it's my turn to step away. So y'all keep it clean.
This never happens in professional terrorism or journalism. That's terrorism.
I think
terrorism, journalism, same thing.
These days, there ain't much damn difference. I was going to say Lewis might beg to differ, but no, I was trying to set something up, which I'll wait till Dan gets back to show it off. But since we were talking about Batmobiles and everything else, and
hey, hold on just a second before you get into your thing. I just want to say one thing. Okay, for those of you who are watching at home, I just posted the Cheech and Chong Up in Smoke last song video to Stupid O'Clock. Okay, go Bill.
Okay. From the movie where they're on stage.
Yes.
Yeah. No, when Dan gets back, I'll show off my other show and tell for tonight. New toy I got to go with one of my other toys.
Uh-oh.
But anyway, yeah, I had earache my eye on a 45, and it was two-sided. And the first side was the whole back and forth between the dad and the hippie son. And oh no, I take that back. It was one-sided. That earache my eye was on one side.
Really?
And
You had a one-sided 45? Now that's really rare.
No. The other side was something different, and I believe that was called Dave. Hey, Dave, it's me. Answer the door, Dave.
No, it's hey man, open the door. It's me, Dave.
Open the door.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's me, Dave. Oh, me, Dave.
Dave ain't here, man.
Dave's not here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I remember that routine.
And then I also had the 45 Basketball Jones. And I'm trying to remember what was on the other side of that. And I'm almost wanting to say Sister Mary Elephant, but I think that
correct, sir.
Okay. Well, I know you could look it up and find out, but it's been a long time.
I had Waylon Jennings, Dukes of Hazzard thing, the good old, just a good old boy.
Yep, I did too.
On 45. But if you flipped it over, they had a song. I don't know whatever happened to it, but it was one of Waylon Jennings' best songs ever. Was a song called "It's All Right."
Mm-hmm.
And I loved the first line from the song was, "George might show up flying high if George shows up at all. He might be undoubtedly the greatest of us all." And of course, he's talking about George Jones, No Show Jones, or No Show George. And he goes, "From the Beatles and me to Nashville," or no, what was it? Something to me in Nashville and the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. We could all sound like we wanted to if we all sound like George Jones. It's all right. Which, if y'all ever did, I may go find that.
Did you have the picture sleeve for Good Old Boys that actually just shows
his hands?
The hands and the Telecaster guitar that you saw at the beginning,
which says
of Dukes of Hazzard.
It was a custom Telecaster and said Waylon on it, so that was kind of funny. And of course that had the last
Waylon on his strap
song.
Too.
Yeah. Oh, that was it. It was on his strap. Said Waylon.
It
wasn't on the guitar, but the last line of the song was, "I'm a good old boy. I wouldn't change if I could. But you don't understand. They keep a show in my hands and not my face on TV." Yes. That was the last line.
Remember the episode of Dukes of Hazzard where Waylon comes to town? And he's actually in the episode. I posted that in the Good Times with Dan Facebook group on a couple different occasions. Which that reminds me, I'm going to have to. I've been pulling up all these Christmas episodes, movies, cartoons.
My favorite episode was where Boss Hogg turned the Boar's Nest into a VFW post. Do you remember that? And he bought an old Army APC. Okay. And had it parked out front at the VFW post. Okay. And everybody was like, "Oh, that's a cool thing Boss Hogg did." Something like that. Turns out he was using the armored personnel carrier to run moonshine cross country at night. And then he'd bring it back and park it out in front of the VFW post.
Yeah, I remember that.
Which I'm like, Boss Hogg got it going on, believe it or not. So. What was the fellow's name? I can never remember the actor's name. I hate that I can't remember names for it. The actor's name that played Boss Hogg.
Um,
I'll have to
well,
look.
James Best played Roscoe, and oh God, what was his name?
Because strangely, I'm looking it up right now. Actually,
Yeah, I'll know. I'll know as soon as you say it. And he wore padded. He was never, he
Sorrel
short.
Brook was his name.
Sorrel Brook, yeah.
Now, a lot of people don't know this about him. Matter of fact, a lot of the people that played secondary characters on Dukes of Hazzard were actually Shakespearean trained actors. And Sorrel Brooks, if you look back at his IMDb, whatever his biography about what all he was in like Great Expectations and things like, like did Charles Dickens and stuff like that. I got him up right now. I'm gonna go way back. Let me see.
He was in one of the later episodes of Little House on the Prairie, and he played a schoolmaster who was beaten on Michael Landon's son, the one that he adopted.
Really?
And oh yeah, he was a mean guy in that episode. And not the bumbling, conniving, boss hog that we all know and love.
Yeah, he was in Dr. Killdeer when he was a lot younger.
Dr. Kildare.
He's done, he did A Girl from Uncle, Mission Impossible, Wild Wild West, Ironside, all the nice 1970s, late 60s, early 70s, Room 222, Hawaii Five-0, the FBI, Cannon, Manhunter. Let me see here. I'm trying to find Slaughterhouse-5, MASH. Really?
Oh.
He played a General Wilson Spalding Baker. Wilson Spalding Barker. Sorry.
Yeah, he had a mustache and glasses on, and Klinger was trying to get him to
sign off on the
on the Section 8. And the funniest line from Sorrel Brook from that episode of MASH was, he goes up and you don't see Klinger, but you see Sorrel Brook and the look on his face, and he goes, "The man is naked." And Klinger is standing there with his rifle, his M1 Garand in his hand, standing there naked in front of him.
Better living through chemistry.
Oh.
Well, I had a toy to show off, Dan, but I wanted to wait till you got back in. And when I was setting it up, I had a little disaster. That's why I had to go off camera for a moment.
Oh, that was when things were falling off. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's still one piece I haven't found, but I'm able to redo something. But ordered this thing, and it came from China. And oddly enough, I got it really a lot quicker than what I thought I would. I've only ordered it 2 weeks ago, and I got it already. So I may actually order something else off of this person, as efficient as they are. And it was and you order things from China, it's a whole lot cheaper, but you're waiting 10 years to get it, typically. And but this, and I don't know if you see behind me here, you see Iron Man sitting there with the visor up, and he's got a table there.
That's Tony Stark.
Yep, that's Tony there, and Christopher Reeve and Burt Ward and Adam West. But anyway, so I'm going to put this back down because with my little remote control that I have here.
It's our favorite delusional female.
Yeah.
She's not delusional. She's exceptional.
Yeah.
Delusional. She thinks we're beautiful.
Okay, I'll accept that. Oh wow.
Now, I may have to.
Where's the Pink Floyd posters?
Yeah.
Isn't there supposed to be like a fluorescent dragon in the background or something like that?
Yeah. But this is actually set up, and I know the way this thing shines so brightly. It's his workshop light table, and these pieces move back and forth. You have light up pieces up top, even down here. It has a plug in down here that plugs into a USB, comes with a little stool that you can set Tony on. They make another version of this that is for Bruce Wayne. So down here where it says Stark Industries, I think it says Wayne Foundation or whatever. And then up here, there's a Avengers logo, which I'm sure you can't see it because this is just so freaking bright. And so the Batman version has a Batman logo there. So now I'm going to try to not drop my tablet.
And then there was one. I take it he dropped his tablet.
No, I don't think he dropped his tablet. I think he dropped his signal. So you got to remember.
I was getting ready to run off and do something off camera right when that happened.
Here it comes back. Here it comes back.
What else can go wrong tonight, huh? But
you haven't been hit by a tornado.
Well, we got pretty close. We had Mattoon had two of them over there on the northwest side of Mattoon. Then there was one in Gaze, Indiana, which is just west of Mattoon. They had a couple of them there. And of course, sadly, there were the tornado that killed 6 people in Edwardsville, Illinois, at the Amazon plant that partially collapsed and crushed some people. Which that was a concrete and steel building.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like it was a pole barn that just got swept up and people died in it. It was a pretty big deal. And kind of like the candle factory in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And they still don't know exactly how many people were in the building there because it was in between shifts. They had shift change going on, so they're still looking for, well, not survivors anymore.
Well, miracles can happen.
Let's
pray for some.
Yeah, I hope they do in this case because
the one thing I heard that was really horrible about that, I think it was the St. Louis Amazon plant warehouse, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
They had a bunch of people in there, and some people that were outside realized there was a tornado coming and ran back in to warn everybody to get out, that there was a tornado coming, and they all got hit they all got buried when the tornado hit. So, it's kind of
wow.
Yeah, if something like that ever happens at the factory where I work, there would not be much left except for if anybody was lucky enough to have to be in some of the underground work stations.
I was about to say, do you have a bunker at your someplace, that they built just for tornadoes?
The main office, the main 2 restrooms are both designated tornado shelters, and they are reinforced concrete block structures. But I don't hold out much hope for the main office itself because it's kind of sticking off to the side and it's a little bit not quite as strong construction. if you were able to make it the quarter mile from my workstation to that particular tornado shelter, yeah, you stand a good chance of not getting crushed by several acres of steel collapsing. If you just happen to be in one of the 3 or 4 places in the plant that people actually have to go in on a regular basis that are underground, you'd stand a good chance, but you might not be found right away. Hopefully, you got a candy bar in your pocket or something. Um, Other than that, my lab might be able to survive as long as one of the big structural beams didn't fall directly on it. If it was just the roof, yeah. But one of those big old I-beams, ain't no way. It would fold up like somebody stepped on some Lincoln logs. They wouldn't even be strong as Legos. So, we practice for these drills. We have outdoor areas that we can congregate in if that is possible. We have several designated um, tornado shelters scattered throughout the building, but the building is so huge. You'd really have to know it was coming and go to the evacuation points as quickly as possible because it's a huge building, and it's not that it's inherently unsafe. It's just that it's grown to the point to where most of the places where people are working are further from the evacuation shelters than they used to be before the plant expanded several times. So, yeah. Apparently, your best bet is to jump on a forklift and hug the steering wheel, because that big metal reinforced cage around the forklift is about your only protection right there. But, if you can't make it to a storm shelter, if you can't make it to one of the underground work areas, if you can't make it to a forklift,
Yeah, when I was in the National Guard, everyone was supposed to head toward the arms room, which is the big concrete weapons vault. And it's heavily reinforced, has a steel door, all sort of fun stuff like that. Everything else is cinder block, and if you can't make it to the arms room, you're dead. So that's.
At Lowe's, you were supposed to take all the customers back in the back of the store, beyond the restrooms, around the corner where typically the break room and the training room,
Right.
HR offices were. And that's all that was cinder block and mortar. And it's, but there were no windows back there other than one emergency door in the back. So that was the reason for it.
Yeah, that's why I don't hold out much hope for the main office, because it is cinder block faced with, thankfully, I believe it is granite. I don't believe it is concrete faking granite, because the big granite mines are just 30 minutes away from here. So it's
that always drove me nuts about the National Guard Armory. That the only thing that could actually withstand a tornado was the arms room, and it's barely as big as my bedroom. Okay, maybe a little bigger, not much, but it had the solid reinforced concrete walls and the vault door and all sorts of stuff like that. The rest of it, everything else was cinder block, and I'm like, you'd think they'd build a National Guard Armory just a little bit more stout for just such an emergency.
That requires money, son.
It's the government. They print money. It's
as fast as they print it.
If you're gonna spend that much money, on National Guard Armory, make a National Guard army that can withstand a tornado. I mean, how stupid is that?
It's the government, John.
Yeah, we don't want to get political here, but yeah, it is the government, and when they're taking,
stupid does.
they're taking money away from the military right now, and they're not going to want to do that.
What do they call it? Homeland Security, basically, is make a stouter National Guard armory. Duh.
Well, yeah, for Homeland Security, not for y'all.
Well, no, because if it's going to be, if there's some sort of disaster in an area, everybody goes to National Guard armory. I mean, that's, it's a shelter.
I don't even know where the local National Guard armory is around here.
Probably Athens.
Well, ours is in Danville.
I've lived in and around Athens for almost half a century now, and
they probably got a sign on the side of the road that you completely ignored. Most National Guard armories.
The National Guard Armory in Danville is this 100-year-old building almost. That's about
they're after Desert Storm. They were supposed to replace all those old buildings, and there's only a few of them still in existence.
Danville's is one of them.
Downtown Chattanooga, the one in downtown Chattanooga is old. Like
it looks like a big old auditorium that you would go watch a college basketball game in or something, because there's windows all around the top and big huge doors. And
one of the safest places in Athens would be the University of Georgia Coliseum, not the football stadium.
What city are you in again, Dan?
What was what?
What city are you in, Dan?
I'm about 15 miles north of Athens.
What's the name of the city? That wasn't answering my question.
Athens.
You were in a little town. What is the town called? Is it Commerce, Nicholson, Jefferson, Arcade, Clarksboro? I mean,
I am equidistant from Danielsville and Colbert and Athens. I am out in the middle of the country.
Okay. I see Danielsville. I see Colbert. I see Comer.
Yeah. Comer's way further. Yeah.
Okay, so you're in that area.
Yeah.
Your closest National Guard army is actually, there's two of them. You got one that's on the other side of Athens.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got one just north of you that's up in a little area called Livonia.
Oh Lord, that's further away than Athens is. Yeah, Livonia.
Well, the one at Athens is on the west side of Athens. Let me see if I got this thing. Okay. Athens, then, on 29, you go Athens, Bogart, Statham, and then Bethlehem. It's actually just north of Fort Yago State Park. I'm thinking what is that area called? Winder? Winder? It's in Winder.
Okay. That's almost an hour's drive away.
Exactly. So the other one's probably closer.
Yeah, that's about 45 minutes. Yeah.
Now, strange enough, once you cross the Savannah River into South Carolina, you got about 5 of them.
That's also over an hour away.
You're just in the middle of nowhere, aren't you, Dan?
How far are you away from the Savannah River nuclear reservation?
Now that I don't know.
Because that's like a super fun site to the extreme.
Well, how close is it to Savannah itself?
Hang on a minute. Savannah, it's up in your neck. Hang on a minute. Now I got to look this up. Savannah. I was thinking about writing a fan fiction for World War Z, the zombie apocalypse thing.
Mm-hmm.
Savannah. Let me see. So, hey, man, why did it bring that up? Damn it. Nuclear solution. That can't be it. Gave me an office building out in the middle of no damn where.
That's probably it. Yeah.
No, well, it's nowhere near the river, so it can't be what I'm looking for.
Believe me, we got lots of things that are nowhere near a river that are called something river road or heights or whatever.
It's like G.I. Joe headquarters from the old cartoon. You go to this place that looks like a little Quonset hut, but you actually go.
Yeah, it's an elevator that drops you down into a subterranean labyrinth.
about
Yeah.
5,000 feet below, and
yeah, there are a huge number of grain silos that don't seem to serve any purpose around here, and I'm wondering how many of them are actually ICBM launch tubes.
They put those in the ground. Dan, just say. Okay. No, the actually the Savannah River Nuclear Reservation is west of Augusta. So
that's a long way away from here. Yep. Let's see. I am 7 minutes from Danielsville. I am 7 minutes from Athens, and I am 8 minutes from Colbert. And there's nothing in the fourth direction at all except farmland.
I was writing a zombie apocalypse novel where a bunch of people that had to leave the Chattanooga area were trying to find a safe place to go, and they wind up going to Tybee Island.
That would be a fairly safe place.
And because there's only one bridge that goes out there, they wind up, the first thing to do is to take over Fort Pulaski, the old Civil War fort. It has a well, so they got water. It's middle of nowhere, that sort of thing. So it takes over, and then they block off the bridge so that nothing else can get out to the island. And then they slowly, over the next few weeks, clear the island of any zombies. Yeah. And then eventually they take over the island, clear out all the motels and everything, and start setting up like solar power, water distillers, and things of that nature. And then in my story, they wind up they're trying to get on the shortwave radio and talk to people to see what's going on in the whole zombie apocalypse thing. They wind up getting in touch with a Russian destroyer. And this Russian destroyer can't go back to its home port because its home port has just been totally decimated by the zombie apocalypse. So they wind up docking a Russian destroyer at the Coast Guard facility there at Tybee Island. So there's no Coast Guard cut or anything. So they just let the Russians have the Coast Guard facility. So they've got this Coast Guard, they've got this Russian destroyer, and they're talking with them and everything like that. And there's this huge dynamic about who's, the Russians want to be in charge, but the Russians are like, well, this is America. We're not, just because we got nuclear weapons on board doesn't mean, we can do anything about it. So they wind up, it's kind of funny. The apocalypse survivors, they wind up having a lot of women and children and a few men, but, they attrition, they've lost a lot of the men. And so here's this Russian destroyer shows up, and they've lost 2/3 of their crew to the zombie apocalypse. So they needed some place, basically, to put in port and, rearm, refuel, and food and all that sort of good stuff. And so it's kind of this funny dynamic about the Russian men are trying to date the American women.
I
wouldn't call that comical at all. I'd say that was pretty much common sense right there.
Yeah, but it was this whole, but they're Russians. So they're sailors. Enjoy it. It's.
Hello, sailor. Yep. But you know what else is somewhere near Tybee Island?
One lost nuclear weapon. No,
Two.
Just one.
No, two.
No, they only lost one.
No, they lost two. They were not at the same time. There's another one.
No, they only lost one at Tybee.
Well, where was the other one? Savannah?
No.
They were in the same vicinity within 100 miles.
No, well, not even within 100 miles. The other one was way up north near South Carolina. So
Oh wait, that one hit the ground. I'm talking about
that was give me a second. I'll remember the name of the place. Something Bluff, Mars Bluff.
Okay.
That's the one. Well, no, that's the one where the conventional explosives exploded, and it's the bomb that dropped had about 2,000 pounds of conventional explosive. A 1-ton bomb is nothing to laugh at.
Oh no.
But and they had to go in and they found the core. What was left of it didn't have the full core; it just had the outer part of the core. Because typically they didn't carry the pit with the bomb, or they didn't carry the pit in the bomb when they were flying.
Yeah,
they literally had to assemble the bomb in flight.
Yeah.
And that was the one with the bad bomb, the bomb drop lever was the one that dropped on Mars Bluff. They had a locking pin that they had a lever, and you pulled the lever and it put the locking pin in place, and you pulled the lever the other direction, the locking pin came out. And there were certain parts of the flight where they had the locking pin in place, but as they were taking off, they had to disengage it so that you could drop the bomb if the plane was having problems in takeoff. So they take off and they try to put the bomb back, or they try to put the lever back in place, but the pin won't go back in. They had problems putting in when they loaded the bomb, they had problems putting the pin in place.
Okay.
So the guy that is in charge of all the people that load the bombs literally came out there with a ball peen hammer and gently tapped it into place. Yeah. Gently.
You know, it's really weird how urban legend has multiplied that one near Tybee Island into two.
No, that Tybee Island was one that I know.
No, that's what I'm saying. Urban legend it's two.
You need to look that up, Dan, and show me that.
No, it's just been one of those rumor legend things that's been going on for half a century, and I would not doubt for a minute that people have exaggerated and made up stuff. And
the Tybee Island mission was a B-47, and they were actually pretending to be a Russian bomber, and they were doing this attack run down the East Coast. And they were supposed to be intercepted by, if I remember correctly, F-86 Sabre jet. And it was a night mission. And the F-86 came in to intercept them and accidentally crashed into the back end of the jet. Killed the pilot of the F-86. Plane's damaged. They can't make it to any base nearby. So it turns out Hunter Army Airfield in Savannah is their closest base. So they turned into Hunter Army Airfield. And as they're passing over Tybee River just south of Tybee Island, they jettisoned the bomb. And the pilot, being a damn good pilot, managed to land the bomber at Hunter Army Airfield, which was really tough because Hunter Army Airfield was barely big enough for that bomber.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, probably not.
Where he jettisoned the bomb was right at the southern tip of Tybee Island. There's a river that goes up into Georgia, and that's Tybee River, something like that. And it's, if you've ever been to Tybee Island, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's mud. Okay.
Yeah.
And when the bomb hit the water and hit the mud, it just kept going.
Yep.
The mud wasn't thick enough to hold this bomb, and it just, as heavy as it was, it just kept going.
It would have kept going for like 2-3 stories underground.
Yeah, they don't know. They have no clue how deep it could have gone there because of the way the silt action is with this river delta thing.
But thankfully it was mud, so it was probably a gentle touchdown.
Well, it hit the water. You know, I mean, let's face it. At those kind of speeds, water is concrete. So
this is true. This
is
true.
Now, the Air Force said officially that there was not a pit in the bomb, that it was just a hollow bomb. But it took them a while to come out with that officially.
Did they say that just simply because they couldn't find it, or what?
They've never.
That's a damn good question, Bill.
First,
because that sounds like something.
Then it wasn't. Then it was.
Yeah.
See,
No,
it was supposed to have been a live bomb. Is the thing.
Supposed to have been, yeah.
But
that's what I thought.
Technically, you weren't supposed to be carrying live bombs either. So the Air Force may be telling the truth, but nobody believes them. So it's
like I said, yeah, it's interesting the way over the last half century or so that has gotten doubled.
See, if the Air Force had said,
the same instant, they made it a second instant.
If the Air Force had said, yes, there are UFOs, and yes, we have captured aliens, but the Tybee Island bomb did not have a pin in it, people have believed them then.
Mm-hmm.
But you just can't lie across the whole spectrum and expect people to believe you. So that's...
Chupacabra and Mothman is guarding it.
Just nobody believes you. It's like the boy who cried wolf. If you lie about every damn thing, nobody. Hey, we're recruiting Air Force recruits. Yeah, we don't believe you. Okay. That's we could use you in the Air Force. No, we don't believe you. Okay. You've lied to us too many times.
You say that before I put my glasses on. Okay.
Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine. What a great place. It's a great place.
To start. Yeah.
I love that part in the movie Stripes where they're marching.
They're marching off into the dark.
Yeah.
Yes, I do remember that.
And to think that I wound up in college because I wanted to enlist in the Air Force and be a mechanic working on airplanes. But my mother thought that I was wanting to be a pilot. And I'm going, Mom, I'm kind of disqualified.
Hey, don't laugh. You get a job fixing aircraft and get a job with like Delta Airlines and you're set. I mean, it's just,
Yeah, but I wound up in college wasting lots of money on 2.5 years of college when I could have been learning a trade.
Yep.
I actually thought about joining the Navy and becoming a machinist mate because I thought that would be a cool job, making metal parts and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's basically what my dad did all his life.
And wound up, I wanted to go, for some reason, I just wanted to go airborne infantry. Then when I joined the Army, they put you in something called 11 X-ray. Now, 11 is the whole infantry thing. That's how the Army defines frontline troops. 11. Any number that's lower than that is like special forces and is actually in front of the front lines. Anything behind 11 is behind the front lines.
Okay.
And depending on your job, depending on how much farther behind the front lines you are, you have a higher job number. That's how the military occupational specialty works. So your frontline troops are infantry. They're 11. Okay. Now you got 11 Bravos, which are 11 bullet catchers. Okay, that's your basic rifleman. 11 Charlie are mortars. 11 Mikes were Bradley drivers, and 11 Deltas, I think, were scouts or something like that. I can't remember that. But they had all these different jobs. And then, like, give you an example, engineers are 12s. They're right behind the infantry. Okay, basically. So you had your 12 Bravos, which were in combat engineers, and so on and so forth. And I wanted to join airborne infantry, but they wouldn't. I was too short, and they didn't think I'd make it in the airborne. So they put me in as 11 X-ray, which is infantry anything, which is basically you go through infantry basic training, and then they decide where to put you.
What has this boy showed an aptitude for?
And apparently, because I can actually add and subtract, they decided I would be a good mortarman.
Like I said, blowing shit up.
Scarborough is too short to be in airborne infantry. What does that mean? Well, when they're all
really
jumping,
good at blowing shit up. So we're
Really.
Well, when they're jumping out of planes because you're shorter, it's going to take longer for you to come down.
Don't laugh. That is exactly the problem. Bigger people, their parachutes drop them quicker. Shorter people, their parachutes let them drop slower. So you're the one that hangs up in the air longer.
All they got to do is get a
Smaller
weight
parachute.
You know, that's what kills me is you think,
and hang the weight on you.
no, you give the people that are shorter the heavier weapons. Duh.
Yeah.
And a mortar, hell, once you get the whole mortar put together, it's 120 pounds. So, you know, of course, you only carry, 38 pounds of it at a time. So, the barrel was 28 pounds. The base plate was 21, and the bipod was 32. It was the heavy part, and then your scope and case and lights and everything was like 8 pounds. So.
Yeah.
Yes, I still remember that shit. Thank you, U.S. Army. So,
Hey, you made it through the training. You got to use it.
hang it, fire. Okay. I can't remember where I went, but they actually had a mortar crew out there, and they were talking about drilling and stuff like that. Says, yeah, once you do mortar drills, you never forget. I said, yeah. Says, you still remember mortar drills? I said, of course I do. Says, and the guy's like, go ahead. I looked at all those privates and I go, fall in on your piece of equipment. And that's the first order you give when you're doing crew drills. Fall in on your piece of equipment. Make your pre-mount checks. Base plate correct. Base plate and cannon correct. All correct. To your front. Everybody lifts up their piece of equipment. Action! And everybody runs up, sets up their piece. And then you set up the mortar. Right?
Mm-hmm. You can tell I watched a lot of movies because I don't have your experience in real life.
Well, that's one thing that used to kill me about the mortars. Is in all the movies, the mortar goes. They put the mortar shell in there. It goes bloop. No, a mortar is a cannon. You drop that shell and it's.
Yeah. What was it Gomer Pyle said? Swish boom.
Yeah.
Is swish boom.
Yeah. That is actually probably the most accurate description of a mortar right there. Swish boom.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay. The bad part is it's a cannon that's only about 3.5 foot long, and literally the muzzle to the cannon is literally right next to your ear. And it's that big around.
So I imagine you had a lot of fun later on in life with the little potato cannons you made out of
What? What? I mean,
salt drink cans with the stuff cut out and a little bit of lighter fluid and pop.
It's kind of funny. Every time we went in and get a physical, they said, "What's your MOS?" 11 Charlie. Oh, well, you've got tinnitus. How did you know? So everybody that's 11 Charlie has tinnitus. Okay.
Everybody that worked at Future X Plastics has tinnitus too. And they thought by going through and having your mandatory hearing test once a year that was their way of staying on top of the situation. No, that was just their way of telling us how deaf we are becoming.
Yep, I've got 45 years worth of annual hearing tests that can accurately track how much hearing I have lost, even with earplugs inside the factory. So there are certain frequencies where my hearing is phenomenal, but there are other frequencies which my hearing has been severely degraded.
Rush Limbaugh used to talk about that all the time on his show. And after he got the cochlear implants, he said still to that day that he would get a caller, and depending on the tone of their voice, sometimes he could just barely understand them at all. And Bo Snerdley was talking in his earpiece, telling him what the caller is saying so that Rush could respond to it.
Mm-hmm.
Just because whatever whatever frequency that they were talking in. And I found that I got to be a little bit like that over the years. We'd go in there, they'd pull up the great big trailer out in the parking lot, Future X, and you lined up out there. Well, it's your turn now to go in there, and you put on the headphones, and they'd say, okay, now hold your hand up by the ear that you hear the tone in the headphones. And I just sit there. Well, come on, aren't you going to do it? Well, play a tone. And they have played like 5 or 6 of them. Now, I heard every one of them, but I'm just screwing with them at this point. And finally, I would say, okay, I heard them. It was 2 in the left, 1 right, 1 left, 3 in the right. And they're like, yeah, it was right. But then eventually that would come back to haunt me because my hearing would get bad.
Yep.
And I actually, this year here, I heard little to nothing at all out of up until last June. I was going up to Elk Grove with Laura and her dad, and we were going through Bensonville or Oak Park or whatever, and on the highway, and I just felt this horrible pressure in my ear, like you're going through the mountains, but about 10 times as worse. And I bent over like this, and Laura's hollering at me, are you okay? Are you okay? Do I need to take you to doctor, emergency room, to the hospital? Because she knew where they were all at up there, and which one was the closest. And I said, yeah, no, I'm fine. I got some ear pressure problems. And then it went pop, just like it just blew out 25 years of crud out of my ear. And I didn't feel anything on my hand, any type of sticky or milky substance or anything like that. But I would have swore that that's what came out of my ear, but it just popped. And I started hearing everything as if I were 18 years old again. Mm-hmm. And about a week later, started getting a little bit of tinnitus in the ear, but it was unplugged. It was, after all that time. And I'm like, wow. And to where her dad would sit in the back, and he'd kind of mumble a little bit anyway. He just never talked up very loud. Never could hear him. And Laura would always turn and look at me and tell me what he said, knowing that he couldn't hear her by, when she's softly talking to me. Mm-hmm. And I heard every word he said from that point on. And I don't know what caused it. We weren't going through the mountains. Like I said, we were just driving up through the western suburbs, northwestern suburbs, but it just happened.
There are many people that I have met since I started working in the factory. Their voices are right in that range where I have lost the most of my hearing. Usually it's female voices, but it's a middle tone. It's not high squeaky voices, and it's not big burly guy gravelly voices, but somewhere in the middle. And it's like I might as well. I had to learn how to read lips basically for a lot of things.
I did too, yeah.
Those voices they do not exist for me. And
it's a certain resonance that
my first wife's voice was right in dead center. After a while, it's like, well, thankfully enough, I couldn't hear a damn thing she said.
What do you want me to do, honey? Oh, sorry.
Write it down.
Can't help you.
What? after you say what enough times, they get annoyed and don't ever talk to you again,
Yeah.
which is a blessing. But oh, I still now there are a lot of people when I go to a public event, and the speakers' voices are right in that range. I have a lot of trouble keeping up with what's being said, but then I can hear somebody open a candy bar 50 feet away, and it's not because it's a candy bar, it's because that frequency is, yep, I can hear that real well. But it's just a matter of what frequencies have been damaged by the particular sounds that are so prevalent in the factory. And it's like John probably does not hear fireworks go off very often.
What?
Yeah.
John, didn't they tell you when you're firing mortars, you're supposed to go?
Not.
John did it the other direction and got him closer.
He'd get a powder burn that way.
The problem is, now here's the bad part. You have to keep an ear open so you hear the commands. Okay. So everybody running around with one ear plug, and it was usually the ear that, depending on your job, was the closest to the mortar, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when the mortar got ready to fire, you do this. Okay. Boom. But
Like that's going to work.
well, no, that actually worked pretty good because you got the earplug in the other ear. So yeah. But everybody, you'd see everybody doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I was the ammo bearer, so my job was to get that next round ready for the assistant gunner who was hanging the rounds. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with mortar rounds, okay, the M374A2 has 9 charge bags at the base of the round. Charge 0 means you've taken all the charge bags off. You can run it up charge 9, and the reason for this is you can decrease the propellant behind it and decrease the hang time of the mortar round. It won't stay in the air as long. It hits the target sooner. So depending on what range you're firing, you decrease charge bags. So someone has to pull the charge bags off when they say, if they want a HE round, HE quick, they want the fuse has 2 positions, quick and super quick and delay. Super quick, of course, goes off on impact. Delay goes off just a fraction of a second later after it buries itself in the ground. Or if you're firing into a tree line, it'll hit a tree, set the fuse off, but because it's on delay, it will fall into the tree line and explode closer to the ground. Or if you're firing at people in foxholes, you can sink the round into the ground near the foxhole, and when it explodes, it'll collapse the foxhole in on them. So, that sort of thing. If you're firing in a house, use delay. That way it goes to the roof and explodes inside the house. That sort of thing. The fuse normally comes set for super quick, but you always check it. There are 2 safety pins in the fuse. Primary pin, secondary pin. You have to pull both of those before you hand it to the guy doing that. And you have to set the charges for it, which on most of the ranges we were shooting at was charge 3 or 4. Which means you have to take 5 or 6 charge bags off of this thing before you hand it to the guy. Now, if you're a good ammo bearer, you've already got everything set up. But you still have to pull the safety pin at the last second before you hand it to the guy. If you know you're going to be firing 3 rounds in fire effect, you go ahead and pull the safety pins on 3 rounds when they yell fire for effect. And once they get the gun set up perfectly, you've got the 3 rounds ready to hand them. It never goes that way. So yeah, you're jumping through your ass to try and get all this stuff done at the last few seconds. Mm-hmm. I was pretty good at it. Most of our guys were. We had a really good crew. Matter of fact, we were one of the best in Europe. We got a lot of kudos for that sort of stuff. So much so that they had us train on the new mortar with the British that invented the new mortar. That's kind of fun.
Oh,
did you see that? No, he's alive.
Who let the dog in?
Or let me put it this way: someone with his phone is still alive.
Yeah.
Yes. So how did it go, Joe? Yes, we're waiting on you, Joe.
It'll take him a minute to type. He's got to find where the keyboard was.
You're in there
where it was
type.
at.
Ooby dooby jabba wooby. Last time.
Don't laugh. I'm half expecting that.
Ooby dooby Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Joe, I'm hoping the party went really well.
Yeah.
How can we explain that reference to somebody that wasn't that was not here to experience?
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a picture of a much younger me as an ammo bearer with the mortar rounds I was talking about.
It looks like it's in my backyard, somewhere near my TARDIS.
Okay. Apparently Joe's going to bed and we have to behave. Yeah, thanks, Joe. Like you get to tell people how to behave. Okay.
Fat chance.
How did Donna get a hold of his phone?
Just so you know, this is me at a mortar site. Matter of fact, this is Mortar Point 11 in Wildflecken, West Germany. Rick Rangel took this picture of me. He was one of my roommates. He was also on my gun crew. And this is me playing ammo bearer. And I don't know if you can see it. I've got all the mortar rounds stacked up behind me over there. I can't see
no, we can see the one you're holding in your hands.
But you can see the one I'm holding in my hands. You can see the charge bags I was talking about. And there's actually several charge bags laying on my knee as I'm setting the charges. I don't know if you can see. I'm going to bring this up for a second here. No, you can't really see the firing pin or the safety pin. You might be able to see it in that one because it's a big wraparound affair.
No, it looks like you got a tank in the background or something.
Yeah.
No, that's my poncho actually underneath the camo net.
Oh, okay.
In case it rained or something like that. So that's yes, I was that good. I was already thinking ahead. Bright sunny day. I've already got the poncho up in case it rains.
Well, as soon as you start setting off explosives, right.
Wildflecken's kind of interesting because the impact area for all this stuff is a big ridge line down the center of the firing or down the center of the post. There's a big loop road around that at the base of the thing. And you've literally got people on the far side firing weapons this way and people on this side where I'm at firing this way. And they're all firing onto this ridge line. That's the impact area. So you got 50 cals coming in from the opposite side of the ridge toward us, and we're firing mortars in their general direction. But it's a big ridge. So they can hear us. They can't see us. We can hear them. We can't see them. And unfortunately, the range for the A-10s was also the same range as our mortar range. So every time the A-10s came in to shoot, we had to cease fire, just so we wouldn't accidentally hit them with a mortar round. Like the last time.
Yes. Never going to do that again.
One of our gunners took out a helicopter. It was a target drone.
Thank goodness.
And the ADA guys were supposed to shoot at it. And as and we still had the range. They didn't. Their target drone came into our section of the range. He said, "Watch this." Kevin
my
McNulty.
canteen and watch this.
I can tell you his name, Kevin McNulty. You know, every unit has their comedian. He was ours. Okay, he was also a damn good gunner. And when that drone helicopter, they brought that drone helicopter there, and it just sat there hovering, and the wind caught it, and it slowly drifted into our target area, where our impact area, where we're supposed to be shooting. He literally goes, "Hey, watch this. Get me a charge 3 round ready." Sure thing.
Just following orders.
I'm over there pulling charges and pulling the safety pins. He gets it set up. He says, "Hand it to the ammo bearer." He says, "Hang it, fire." Boom! And everybody's looking at him like, "What are you shooting at?" He says, "Target of opportunity." He's sitting there, and we're sitting there waiting. Of course, it's got like a 28-second time of flight. No, 24-second time flight. Excuse me. We're sitting there waiting. All of a sudden, that helicopter just goes boom, and it hits the ground.
How much trouble did y'all get in?
Here's what's funny. Okay. The unit over to the other side, they had 6 of these armored vehicles with the 20 millimeter Gatling guns on top, the radar.
Mm-hmm.
Air defense artillery. They're retiring them. This is their last range before they retire these vehicles. Armed Forces Network is over there to document the whole, generals, colonels, all these people about they've done a great job, but we no longer need them, kind of thing, And this will be their last time at the range. And they're going to expend, and there's a target drone, they're going to spend all their ordnance shooting at this target drone. And that sort of thing, right? All of a sudden, their target drone disappears. They didn't know whether to court-martial us or give us a medal. That's so fortunately, it kind of wound up in the middle that they didn't give us a medal, but they didn't court-martial us.
Oh, you lucky bugger.
Well, they were like, who handed them that round? Well, I did. Why? He's my squad leader. Of course I'm going to hand him the damn round when he tells me to hand him the damn round. What do you expect me to do when he tells me to hand him the damn round?
They brought you all into a room and they said, you get to choose between door number 1 and door number 2. One's a court martial. And
no, they were talking to our platoon leader, and then they were chewing out the lieutenant. The lieutenant was like, it's a target in their area, and he's like, that wasn't their target. That was obviously an air defense artillery target. I mean, it's painted up like a target.
Nobody told us.
Of course, we used to get in a lot of trouble for like shooting at guinea pigs, wild boar, and deer, and all that sort of stuff like that. Because technically, you're not supposed to shoot at the wildlife. It's like in our area.
Yeah,
that's our impact area. You want your pigs out of there? Go run them off.
Really?
a friend of mine who's a 20-year veteran in the National Guard. They used to go up to Fort McCoy, Wisconsin every summer. He was a Spec 5 sergeant, and
Got it.
he was carrying.
Can I do it? I will wait until Bill finishes.
Okay. Quickly, he was basically carrying M60 one hand, carrying the barrel bag in the other hand, and he decided he was going to play Rambo with the treetops. It cut down a huge limb, or as he referred to it, a chunk of the tree, and it did kill some wildlife that was nesting below it, some deer. And I said, what happened? He goes, I'm the cook now.
We had a guy that we were in our armored personnel carriers, or mortar carriers. We're sitting there, and we pull up to this mortar range, and all these pigs come over and start hassling us, I guess the best way to put it, because they smell food. Okay. So we literally have all these wild boars running around outside. And we got the ramp up, but we get the door open, but there's no way they can get inside the vehicle. There's no way they can crawl up that high. And we're sitting here, and it's just, we can't do anything. We can't get out of our vehicles. We can't prep or anything like that because these wild boar. Some of these damn things are 5 foot long, weigh 500 pounds. You just don't go out and mess with those things. Of course, we're training. We don't have any live ordnance other than the mortar rounds. We can't do anything with them. We're sitting there. All we got is blanks. Van Alstyne goes, give me a second. I'll get rid of that pig. There's this one pig trying to get in the back of the vehicle because it smells food. And you can see it in the back of the hatch, sticking its nose up through there. I'll get rid of it. He pulls the blank adapter off his M16, reaches over in this thing, pulls out a cleaning rod, drops it down the barrel with the blank inside of it, walks over to the pig and goes, BAM! And stuck a cleaning rod in this pig's head. and it just running off with all the other pigs scattering with it and running for dear life and stuff like that. And you hear this over the radio. What the hell did y'all do?
Got rid of the damn pig.
3-gun. 3-gun. We did it. Okay. We only had we had an unusual mortar unit in that we only had 3 guns on our platoon. So most mortar units have 4 medium when you're doing medium mortars. It's kind of weird because the heavy section has 6 guns. They have 6 guns in their platoon, but they have 2 sections, so there's 3 guns in each one. Well, our whole platoon. Oh.
Sorry about that. If you'll join us on Last Man Standing, you can finish the story most eloquently. Good night,
Well,
Ace.
that was pretty much the end of the story. Is we had to explain why we shot a pig when we didn't have ammo. How did you shoot a pig if you didn't have ammo?
Improvised.
We improvised. We overcame. We adapted. And that pig ran off with a cleaning rod stuck in his head.
And 20 years later, somebody harvested that pig and got a good cleaning rod out of it.
I'm wondering, of course, as it's running through the buses and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure yank that cleaning rod out.
Depends on how deep it went.
Well, it's a blank. I don't think it's going to put it in too deep, but,
Well, it obviously didn't interrupt any vital brain cells.
No, we didn't have a dead pig to deal with. No,
somebody probably did. Okay, we've got about 20 seconds, 40
Well, let's
seconds.
go ahead and say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you for showing up. Even if Joe did run off and abandon us.
Hey, who needs that guy? No, thank you, Joe. And I hope the party went really, really well. Everything should be just fine. We got 15 seconds, and I'm already.
I looked good when I was younger, but I was a little green back then.
On that note,
good night, everybody. Okay.
I have slipped the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter-silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds and done 100 things you have not dreamed of. Wheeled and soared and swung high in the sunlit silence. Hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up, up the long, delirious, burning blue, I've topped the windswept heights with easy grace, where never lark nor even eagle flew. And while with silent, lifting mind, I've trod the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand, and touched the face of God.